Hey, everybody. We're recording this podcast, the Wieser Podcast, on December 2nd of 2025. Some of the stuff we're talking about will already be decided by the time you listen to it on the air. You may listen to it on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, or you may be watching us on YouTube. You can always go there to WJOB 1230 and see us talking there. So we're keeping pace with the times. And right now we're actually live on the radio. Is that correct? Yes, we are live on the radio. So it's a lot of different areas that we go with the Wieser Podcast. It features Jim Wieser, who's been in the Democratic Party and been a national and statewide involvement. And, of course, he's been the Lake County Democratic Chairman, no longer, but for quite some time. Jim, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, always great to be here, Jim.
Let's get right to it. I very rarely say this on the air, but I was wrong, and I have to fess up to that. And Jim Wieser was right. And Wieser's like, hey, I've never heard you say that on the air. And I go, well, it might not have happened in a while. It does happen from time to time. I thought that the Republican Party would acquiesce to Mitch Daniels and other more moderate Republicans and not consider Donald Trump's request to redistrict all the congressional districts in Indiana. That is certainly not the case.
Not the case at all. And not surprising to me, but I know it was to you. I was hopeful, but I'm not surprised at all. That kind of pressure politics, combined with the just the criminal activity that's occurring in the Republican Party. They're eating their own. They're attacking their own. There's at least 12 swatting incidents reported. I was just advised, or I got a call last night, right around 9 o'clock. It was a little bit later.
You were already sleeping.
And, yeah, for a couple of hours. That incident, a swatting incident, occurred with the state Democratic chairman, Karen Talion, yesterday.
The Democratic state, yeah. I did not. That's not been reported anywhere.
No, it just happened, and I think one of the reasons is it just so happens that she was out of town, but it took place at her residence in. I won't even say where her residence is, although I'm sure it'll be.
Everybody
reported.
knows that she lives along. She's in Northwest Indiana, and she lives along the lake.
Right.
She
lives in Ogden Dunes.
Yeah, she lives in OD.
Yep.
And she was elected representative for a long time, and now she is the head of the Democratic Party. Correct. That is so unfortunate. How'd she take it?
I don't know. I haven't heard. I didn't hear it from Karen. I heard it from someone close to Karen. And I haven't had a chance to follow up because it was late last night, and then I came here this morning. But the point being that what's taking place is actually, for me, it's indescribable. It so violates all of the norms of how political business is conducted, and particularly as it relates to redistricting and the making of maps and the timing of the making of maps and the purpose for remaking the maps, all of which is thrown out the window. There are no rules anymore. The call I got last night, the actual purpose of it was, if you'll recall, Jim, back in 2021 when the real redistricting took place, there were 12 public hearings conducted throughout the state of Indiana, and this was done by the Republican majority, and in the General Assembly, and they went out and did 12 public hearings all across the state. I attended the one. I was chairman of the party at that time, and it was important to us, and it was important to me to understand what the process was that they were employing. And I went to the one at Ivy Tech. It was packed. There was hundreds of people there, all extremely interested in redistricting. And the folks from Indianapolis, the representatives and the state senators, did a a remarkable job of presenting it and why they were doing what they were doing. And they talked about I guess, for lack of a better, the rules of engagement, I'll call it, of redistricting. And they said, we want districts that are equal in size. We want them to be contiguous. We want them to be compact. Those are all the academic, technical words for it. And we want them to be equal, obviously, population. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, actually, population-wise. And we want them to make sure that to the extent that we can avoid it, we won't cross county lines or state rep and state senators lines. But the most important thing, I thought, and it was kind of a new concept, we want the districts to reflect the homogeneity, for lack of a better term, of the district. And that came to be known as communities of interest, which was huge. And that's what they did. And when they redistricted this particular district, the 1st Congressional District, which is being targeted now, the 1st and the 7th down in India is being targeted now, they said it's important that those communities, we recognize that the communities along the lake, this county, Lake County, our neighbor to the east, Porter County, and then LaPorte County, formed a community of interest. There was a lot of interest in the use of the lake, in how that could develop economically, economic development for all kinds of reasons and all kinds of purposes. So it made sense to the Republican makers of the maps that they make that district, as well as the rest of the state, but I'm focusing on our district. It's the one I have the most knowledge of and the one that's being contested.
So let me, community of interest.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here, it's December 2nd, to give it some context. By the time you listen to this, it may be December 10th or maybe a year from now. You already know what happened. But the legislators, the representatives today are meeting, and they may push redistricting forward in a special session. And Governor Braun has said he wants this to happen. And then it would go to the Senate. But it's very hot right now. And ultimately, what it looks like in the beginning was that they just wanted to go after Frank Mervan's district and somehow draw it so that a Republican could win, and then that would give Indiana 8-1. Well, it looks like they redrew everything, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But just to give it some context, and I want to go back to the history. Adriana, Jim's gonna hold this up. You're on him. Just hold it up and show that, and she will put a camera on that for everybody on YouTube. And this is the new shape of the first district, and I'll hold the times, or you hold the times. And here's Lake County, and then it'll go under Porter, LaPorte, and under South Bend. Then it'll go through Marshall County, which is Culver, Indiana. And that's only part of the way there. Yep. Then it'll go all the way down here to Wabash County, Miami County, Cass County. So Wabash County is really kind of almost a suburb of Fort Wayne. And so you basically are cutting out what you said, Porter, LaPorte counties, which are not only contiguous with transportation and recreation, but I mean, like our sports network covers those three. All the media, the times that I'm holding up right now, that's what they cover. I mean, there is a closeness in the Duneland Athletic Conference. Lake Central and Lake County, you got Valpo and Porter, and then you got LaPorte in LaPorte County. So to some extent, we've always kind of thought of ourselves as one, and this obviously rips it up for political purposes because Porter County is becoming more and more Democratic on the north end, which would be Portage, and Valparaiso has a majority Democratic council. Certainly, Michigan City is a pretty much a Democratic town. You'd have to take those out if you want to try to win this, right?
Which they've done by their plan. And I might point out they did leave in South Porter County.
Yes, South Porter County,
which is heavily Republican. And that was, that's the design. And you talk about them meeting right now. I mentioned before there were 12 public hearings conducted throughout the whole state, plus legislative hearings, many legislative hearings and everything back in 2021. At 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, for the first time, the Republican House, the leadership of the Republican House, announced that the one and only hearing that was going to be conducted on redistricting was going to take place this morning at 9 o'clock. The one and only hearing at 9 o'clock this morning, Indianapolis time, 8 o'clock our time, giving nobody a realistic opportunity to attend, to be there, to testify, to do anything that they want to do, because the word got to the legislators at 2. That's when they posted the agenda, because they had to. They had to, which is surprising. They haven't followed any law up to this date. So anyway, that's what's going on. This is being done in the cover of nighttime, in the darkness, and it'll go through the House by Friday. I think Friday will be third reading, and it'll zip through the House, and it'll be to the Senate right at the beginning of next week, and in my opinion, zip through the Senate as well, and for no legitimate, logical, governmental reason. The only reason is because we can do it. We can do it because we're in control. We could do it because the madman in the White House wants us to do it. We could do it because our governor, who's nothing but a mini Trump, same thing, and it's pathetic. It's so beyond the pale. It's frustrating to even discuss, talk about, think about the unfairness, the actual cruelty of it. To take communities of interest, like I talked about, and blow them up. Not only here, they're going to blow them up in other parts of the state. Now, be careful what you wish for, because I believe that given the current political climate, given the missteps and the misgovernance that's occurring at the national level and will continue to occur because of the incompetence of the administration, there may be districts they think are going to be Republican districts that are going to be really challenged. And particularly if I was the congressman, I think it's Yakima in the 2nd District, I'd be real worried. I'd be real worried about the 2nd District. With the right candidate, that's a district that can be won by the Democrats. And we can still maintain and retain the 1st District and the 7th District. But they don't care. They don't care. And it's sad. And it's what they've done. Adriana,
our producer,
the producer, I was going to say,
and the head of the WJOB Podcast Network,
right, says, she just says how she just said to me, how do you teach this in school? How do you teach redistricting in school? I don't know. I don't know what you do anymore, because the rules are out the window. Redistricting, like everything else that's going on in this country, is whatever the president wants, because our democracy is clearly and slowly eroding away. And unless there's a significant change, this is going to be the way of the world. And it isn't going to be the rule of law, and it isn't going to be thoughtful, careful governance. It's going to be shoot from the hip, and whatever happens, happens.
So once again, it's the Jim Wieser Podcast, Wieser. All you got to do is hit that, and you could listen to a whole bunch of them. Jim's going to go a little bit more often during this current drama that's going on. So to put it in context again, you were involved, or at least, you were the Lake County Democratic chairman when you redistricted in 2021.
Correct.
Did you feel like you had any input with Republicans at that time?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. And I think we did, because our job in 2021 at my level was to redistrict the Board of County Commissioners districts and the County Council districts. And I worked in tandem with Dan Dernall, who's now a state senator. Interesting to see where that ends up. And he was the county chairman at the time for the Republicans. And we had we put a committee together on the Democratic side. I know Dan had folks helping him on the Republican side. And we fed off of what we saw the state doing. And we said, well, that's what we want to do here. That's how we want to redistrict in Northwest Indiana to reflect the will of the people. That's the bottom line in this whole thing. When they do what they're doing, they take your ability to vote for whom you want to vote for, to elect your own representatives. They're doing it for you because they have all the answers. That's how the Republicans view this. That's how they're operating. And that is not democracy. That is not our constitutional form of government at all. And what we did at our level, we took it from the state people, talked to the state people, talked to the representatives, talked to the senators briefly, and nothing in depth, but we got a sense of where they were going. And we agreed. I happened to agree with it when I was the county chairman. And we redistricted our area to reflect that. And I think it did. And we did it lawfully, and we did it smartly, and we did it to reflect the will of the people. That isn't happening anymore.
So let's put context now on what is actually going to happen. You guys will know the answers to this, but the Indy Star went through and said, well, what is each representative on the Republican side? Where are they standing on this, right? And the list of where House Republicans stand, there's all sorts of some, but New Albany, Zionsville, Carmel, and that are opposing redistricting. There's a whole bunch that are for it and have come out and said so. Indianapolis, Fishers, Jasonville, which is where I have relatives, and Mooresville, Williamsport. I mean, they've come out pretty hard to say, yeah, I support Donald Trump. Here's one, Michelle Davis out of Whiteland. I fully support President Donald Trump and Governor Mike Braun's leadership and the redistricting effort that is underway. Yes, I'm in. There's a whole bunch of them that are no. And one of those would be a guy named Danny Lopez out of Carmel. I am a hard no on potential efforts to redraw electoral maps. Just a few years ago, our General Assembly undertook the complex redistricting process based on up-to-date census data, blah, blah, blah. We should stand by that work. That's basically your position, too.
Totally.
Right?
Completely my position.
Okay. But then there's a whole bunch that are, it's kind of hard to tell. Here's one. And it's on the front page of the Indy Star. Julie Altoff, just from down the street here. Okay? Altoff said redistricting would require taking a number of things into consideration. Mike Aylesworth out of Hebron, a little further south. I'll wait and see what the caucus says. We'll see what the leadership says. He's basically saying, whatever leadership says, and I want to see what they're saying. Soliday says he would have to consider the effects of redistricting, both short and long term. These folks have said something that is kind of Charlie Brown-like, in that it's just like, well, it's kind of a bit wishy-washy, because I don't know why. But then there's another one that hasn't said anything, they're saying, according to the Indianapolis Star, and that is your friend, Hal Slager, a Republican out of Cherville. These are basically the four representatives, the four major Republican representatives. All of them are non-committal so far. What do you think they're going to do?
They're going to vote in favor of it. Or here's what will happen. The House, look, this is going to pass the House overwhelmingly. It's a done deal. What may happen, to provide some cover to some of our friends, Republican friends here in Northwest Indiana, is they'll say, okay, we don't really need you, we don't need you to make the majority. We don't need you. We'll cut you some slack. And okay, Julie, if you want to say you're against it, or Hal, if you want to say you're against it, and to cover your tracks and to protect yourself in your own district because you're running again next year, okay, that we'll give you some cover. I could see that possibility, but if they say we need you, they're going to go.
So ultimately, you're saying if they say no, they haven't stated a principle like I'm against it. So, which honestly, the only one that I would have followed is Hal Slager, because now you're caught. It's like, well, you were non-committal, and now you're voting against it. Jim Wieser says it could just be for political purposes, and I agree with you. You should have said nothing. Slager's the only one who handled this. Just say nothing, because then they'll pin it against you.
Right.
You guys will pin it against them.
Absolutely.
So even if Julie Altoff votes no, your response to that, especially if you ran a candidate, a qualified Democrat against her, would be, well, they were just doing that to give you cover, and which is why you would say nothing going into this. Which Hal Slager's been around a long time, and he's smart enough to know that.
Right.
And I guarantee if I texted him like all the way coming up into this, and I know him too, got him in my phone, I was like, hey, come on in, I want to hear where your stance is. Nah, I'm not doing that. That would be the right answer if you were smart politically, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you have this. You got Slager, Altoff, Ailes, and who was the other one?
Soliday. Yeah,
Soliday. We're not even talking about the senators yet.
No.
We'll have to.
That's where it's really at.
Yeah. If we pass this, which you're saying it will.
It'll pass.
And then we'll do another podcast going in to the senators. But let's put this in perspective. In that chair you're sitting just an hour and a half ago was Hammond Mayor Tom McDermott. He's having a kind of a dust-up with Governor Mike Braun, who's going to drive right past here in a couple hours in Northwest Indiana for a $10,000 a plate fundraiser, reportedly by McDermott, right? So the way McDermott outlined it, he's like, hey, listen, people are already upset about the way the Republicans did Senate Bill 1, SB 1. And once that hits, there's going to be all sorts of people that are like, what in the hell? Isn't that much of a hullabaloo now? But once there's so much less money for towns and schools and all that, and that you'll get your $300 rebate, but it'll cost you, multiple times that in taxes. So he's like, once that hits, and if they do redistrict, he's saying that there is an opportunity for Democrats across the state, including a good Democratic candidate for governor. Do you agree?
Yes.
Explain.
Yes, totally agree. Mike Braun is I think will be noted in history as, if not the worst, one of the worst governors in the state of Indiana. And I say it for a bunch of reasons, and I won't go into all of them. He's weak already. He had his legislatures defied him at every step of the way. He couldn't even get a lieutenant governor elected in the convention to help him out. Instead, he got a white Christian nationalist to be his lieutenant governor, because not someone that he wanted, someone that he got.
By the way, he sat in that chair a little while ago too, and boy, is he charming.
Braun?
Micah Beckwith.
Oh, Micah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was like,
yep.
I tell the story. I didn't know who he was, and we agreed to play golf even before I knew who he was.
Yeah.
He played golf in college. But anyways, so why is this such an opportunity? I don't quite fully understand that.
Well, I think it's an opportunity for several reasons, because people are catching on to what the Republican form of government looks like nationally and here in the state of Indiana, because, as I said before, Mike Braun's nothing but a mini Trump. Case in point, I can't believe very few people have talked about this. Braun can't carry the legislature initially. It looked like the legislature was pushing back and saying, we're not going along with this redistricting stuff. Trump's furious, upset at Braun, saying stuff about him, saying stuff. I can't believe Mike can't pull it off. I can't believe he can't do that. I wish I was on the phone when Braun and he had the conversation. That must have gone something like, I'm still working it. I'm sorry, Mr. President, but I want to do something for you. So, hey, you want National Guard troops? Hey, you want 300 of our people? You got them. You want to send them to D.C.? You got them. I want to do anything for you. I want to do anything I can. Can't do it on this level, but I'll do it on this level. Where's the public policy behind all this? There's none. Absolutely none. I'll just do what you want because you want it done. I'll sacrifice the personal lives of 300 National Guard troops, including and specifically out of Gary and out of Bloomington. And I guess the reason I'm so fired up about this is because my son-in-law is one of the top dogs over in Gary for the National Guard. And I've got a daughter and 2 grandsons that they're willing to yank him out of there, as they are other men and women, send him to D.C. for no reason at all, other than Braun trying to mollify a president who's pissed at him because he couldn't deliver on the redistricting issue. That's how we're governing in this country. It is so pathetic, and people are catching on. They realize it. They understand it. You see, redistricting, 63% of the country is opposed to it. They listed the 14 most important issues. Redistricting was number 14. They don't care. Please do something about the cost of living. Do something about our health benefits. Do something in Indiana about SEA or SB1, but now SCA1, Senate Enrolled Act 1. That is causing all of us, our taxes are going to go up despite the game that they played, the shell game they tried to play with it, the Republicans. And people are beginning to understand that. And it's going to be, and you could tell it, there's just a wave. I'm no longer the chairman, but I talk to people routinely and regularly in our party, and there's been more interest, more people inquiring about wanting to be candidates. What do you do? How do you go about doing it? I'm really interested, and some good people. And I think that you're going to see, it's going to be a seat. There's a potential, as Mayor McDermott said, for a seat change. Doesn't mean it's going to be, but the potential is there because people realize that we are losing our democracy. We are losing our constitutional republic day by day, and they're fed up.
Go to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Type in WIESER, Wieser Podcast. We'll do it again very shortly in the next couple days just to kind of follow this. If you're listening years on down the line, it's a historical moment here, a historic moment in Indiana, and we appreciate you coming down here and doing this, Jim.
Love it. Love to do it.
All right. Hey, go to WJOB 1230 on Apple or Spotify and like the channel. Adriana Alvarez is a senior who is coming up on her graduation, and she runs that. It was her idea, and somehow it is blown up, and she gets help from Matt Kaufman and Joe Semino and Lynette Lopez. These are all people in their early 20s that are running a podcast network, and I just can't believe that it's taken hold so much. Please go there and like the channel. Until next time, see you later.